Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is AJ from the Paladin Journal, and today we're going to be talking about what I consider to be one of the absolute best comic book movies slash superhero movies of the last 30 years, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine, aka Deadpool 3. Now, you may ask, that's a pretty bold claim, but as I've said on social media, like about an hour or two ago, I'm going to repeat. I actually genuinely do think that this is the best comic book movie we've had in the last 30 years. Yes, I know the Blade franchise exists. There's Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and any number of other movies that a lot of people hold up as being the best of the best in this time frame. But I think that this movie is the absolute best. And even if you don't want to consider it to be the absolute best, I think it absolutely has a case to make for being a top three movie. And the biggest reason for that is because of the absolute unadulterated joy I felt watching this movie. I've seen one, I've seen two, I've seen all the X-Men movies to date, and I've seen pretty much all of the MCU and the DCU and everything, and other stuff besides. I love some of those movies that I mentioned earlier. Black Panther, top movie. Winter Soldier, top movie. Avengers, top movie. I even consider Wonder Woman to be one of the best. And I don't have much a problem with Man of Steel either, although, it does have its issues. But all the same, I think this is the best because start to finish, the action is absolutely amazing. It's brutal as hell, and it's quick, it's fast, and this is pretty much Ryan Reynolds Deadpool at his finest. Like, we haven't seen him be this brutal throughout the franchise so far. And that's a pretty bold claim to make because he has set the not the record, he has set the benchmark for R-rated superhero movies. And this one stops it all out because you have to understand this isn't just Deadpool action; it's also Wolverine action, and it is brutal, absolutely 0 to 100. And then you have the story, which I thought the story has never been a strong point for the Deadpool movies. They're good fun, and they're light on details, and some of the threads might not flow well together, but all the same, for what it is supposed to be, what it projects itself to be, and it sets a certain amount of expectations, and then it exceeds those expectations. Yesterday, I rewatched the first movie. I didn't get a chance to watch the second one in time, but man, that movie still holds up. And if you've never seen Deadpool before, you watch that one, and then you go into this one, you'll be perfectly fine. You don't need to know what happened in number two, not too much, but still, it gives you the context. And again, this is Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine after a gap of like 6 years, 7 years, or something. Last time we saw him was in Logan, and that was such a huge departure from his previous entries, starting with X Men, all the way back in 2000. 24 years of Hugh Jackman, and we finally have him in a comic book accurate superhero outfit. Yes, there have been a bunch of different ones over the years since the character was first introduced, but I would still say that the yellow with the blue accents, that is still something that is very iconic, regardless, because it is the one that most people from the last like 30 years almost, they're familiar with, especially with the X-Men animated series, and then we had X-Men 97 earlier this year. Those things, they leave a mark, and I just cannot tell you how good it feels. I'm not well versed in comics. I've barely read any Deadpool stuff, maybe like 4 or 5 comics back, like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, around that time. I've read a fair few X-Men ones, but again, I am not too familiar with those. My primary entry with X-Men has been the animated shows, various ones, over the last 30 years, and of course, all the movies with Hugh Jackman and stuff. And it's like there's so much joy you feel watching this movie. the big setup for the story is that this is set post Logan. That's important to remember. Logan is pretty much part of this universe. Earth 10,005, I believe is what it's called. And you know, so Logan is dead. We are like 6 years on from that point, and Deadpool right now, he's given up being Deadpool. He is just a car salesman with his friend Paul, and he's one of the ones who petitioned to join X Force and Deadpool 2, but he was kind of rejected. But he's still good friends with Wade Wilson, and you know they're having Wade's birthday, and all of his friends are there. Colossus is there. Morena Baccarin's character, Vanessa. She's also there. Teenage Negasonic Warhead. She's there with her girlfriend Yukio. Blind Al is there, and so many of the other characters within the Deadpool franchise that we've seen in the last two films. Everybody's there. They're all having fun. It's his birthday, and then he gets a knock on the door. The TVA shows up, for some reason, and they whisk him away. And then we learn that with Wolverine's death, with Logan's death, Earth 10,005, that universe is dying because he was an anchor being. He was such a key character for that reality that with his death, the reality is now crumbling, and within like a couple thousand years, it's just gonna go boom. And the guy in charge, he actually wants to destroy the reality with a quick fix. He thinks taking 2,000 years to die off is inefficient. He's come up with a machine, and there's all that going on. So pretty much, as you expect, Wade Wilson, he's got some things to do. He's got thoughts about this whole thing. And so he sets out to save his universe, save his reality, save Vanessa, save his friends. And on this journey, he recruits Wolverine. Now, we already know that the Logan version of Wolverine is dead. So he has to do the multiverse hop. He has a very convenient TVA jump device thingy at hand that he took from the TVA guy who brought him to the TVA facilities, wherever they are located. And the montage we get of him going to different realities and trying to recruit Wolverine, and we see so many iconic versions that even I, as a relative like newbie to X-Men comics, even I recognize a lot of the versions. There's a Patch Wolverine, the fancy guy with the patch, and he's like with the fancy white suit and everything. He's there. There's Wolverine from the cover of one of the comics where he's nailed to an X-shaped what's it called, cross. What did we call it, cross then? But yeah, he's changed to that one. That's such an iconic cover, and it was even recreated by Top Cow Comics for one of their Witchblade reboots about a decade ago, almost a decade ago, more like maybe like 8 years, 9 years ago. Then they recreated that. Such an iconic cover. That version is there. There's a version where Hulk and Wolverine are fighting, and there's just so much other stuff there. They also have Short Wolverine, the comic book accurate Wolverine, so to speak. And then big spoilers, and this warning, big spoilers, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of the cameos as well. So fair warning. Just if you don't want to know about all these cameos and stuff or the details about the plot, because I'm going to go into all of that, then you might as well skip the video. And just know this is a highly recommended movie. You should absolutely not be missing this. So okay, fair warning. We're done. Back to the story. One of the variants we meet is Cavalry, which I thought was so freaking hilarious because I guess there might have been some kind of like hype in the fandom that Henry Cavill should take on the role of Logan, aka Wolverine, and we see him as well as in during the montage, which was absolutely fantastic. I lost my mind. I think that was like the first major cameo we have, and I was like, whoa, just like because the way it is all set up and stuff, I thought it was something from the Wolverine or is it X Men Origins Wolverine, the one where he gets his powers and then he breaks out and he goes to this old couple and he takes their bike and then they are killed by the military that is chasing him or something like that. I thought it was kind of like that version, but man, Henry Cavill is like the most hyped actor today. People fan cast him so much, especially now that he's no longer the Witcher, he's no longer Clark Kent, aka Superman, and people just love to put him in everything. Even I do. I would love for Henry Cavill to play a character for the Warhammer TV series that is coming from Amazon. We don't know any of the details about those projects, but I'm hoping he plays like if it's a horror fantasy project, he plays the Emperor or Constantine Valdor, or even if he plays something set in 40K itself, he plays Eisenhorn, you know. So yeah, seeing Henry Cavill as Wolverine, aka Cavalrine, as he gets called, that was just like hilarious. Such a great moment, to like bookend that montage, and then we are just off to the races. And we find out that with this version of Wolverine, something terrible happened on his world, and he is the worst Wolverine of all of them. Like if you were ranking it up, then the Wolverine from Logan, he's like the greatest apparently, and this guy is like the worst. You know, in universe scale as the characters talk about it. So there's like that sense that he has like a bit of a dark past that he's trying to get away from, and there's just something going on with him. But you know, Wade Wilson convinces him to join him on an adventure, so to speak. And man, once that team up happens and the story starts to move forward, it is just like you know the the action was already so intense by that point, and we're talking like the first 30 minutes of the movie. But then it ramps up even more because the two of them, they find themselves in the void, which is the trash heap of the multiverse, where the TVA sends its rejects and people that it has marked for deletion, so to speak. All of this is taken straight from the Loki television series. Uh, Pretty much most of the content, I believe, is from season one. I haven't seen much of that, unfortunately. I just kind of got bored after like 3 episodes, 4 episodes maybe. I don't know. So I just kind of gave up. I haven't really revisited. I rewatched episode one a few months back, but then again, I just couldn't maintain my interest too much. The story was just so slow and kind of boring. But anyways, so we go to the void, and then that's where the cameos really ramp up as well. It's like so much intensity going on in every single way that matters, and we get Chris Evans. Chris Evans returns in a Marvel movie for the first time, I believe, since Endgame. Because at the end of Endgame, we saw that he pretty much dies. He's lived a long life in the alternate reality he had, and he returns, and right as it's about to be revealed that oh, this is the Captain America Chris Evans that we've seen for like the last 20 years. It's like Shazam, it's not him. It's not Captain America. It's Chris Evans' Johnny Storm. And I was like, what is going on? And it was like, again, it's like these cameos, they just give you so much joy. Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, it's not one of his more famous roles, although he is fairly well known for it. But because even though we had like 2 movies for the Fantastic Four in the 2000s, the movies weren't that successful. And Chris Evans, he later rebrands himself as Captain America, Steve Rogers, for the MCU. So most people have forgotten about him. And then, here he just shows up and it's like, oh, God, just like, I'm ready to die now, you know, basically. But like I said, this is not the end of the cameos. There's so much more that remains. And, we also get Sabretooth. This is the same actor, even, who played Sabretooth in the original X-Men movie. And he returns. And that was hella good. We get Toad back. We have Pyro back. And it's like, is this like an X-Men reunion or something? We have a Hugh Jackman version of Wolverine, and then we have all these other actors who are also part of that franchise, and it's so good, man. And like every moment is just damn good. But all of that set up. They join up with all these other characters. There's a big fight, which was absolutely beautiful because Deadpool versus Wolverine. You know, like Wade says in the movie at that point, this is what the audience came to see. You cannot have a superhero team up if the superheroes aren't fighting each other. It's just it's a trope that has to happen and it should happen, and it was freaking great. You know, these two go at each other, without restraint. They're absolutely unhinged, and we see a side of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine that we've never really seen before. This is a guy who is much more lethal, and he's much more brutal, and he doesn't really care if he hurts you. And it's an R-rated movie, so he's mouthing off all the time. He's pretty much almost matching Wade Wilson word for word, and it's just so great. And then we have other stuff like Deadpool versus Sabretooth, and then they all fight against Pyro, and they fight against Toad and everything, and then we transition. Now we are on our way to see our main villain, hopefully. And as it turns out, the main villain of the movie is going to be Emma Corrin's Cassandra Nova. This is a character I've never really heard about or read about or anything, and I did see like a brief Instagram reel yesterday about who Cassandra Nova is, and I got the gist of what the character was about. I didn't watch too much of that reel, even though it's just a minute and a half long. But I didn't watch too much of it because I didn't want to prejudice myself or bias myself with understanding about what the character was. But the movie gives you the context, and it tells you enough about who she is and just what kind of a brutal villain that she is herself. So that was pretty good stuff. And the cameos don't end. We see a damaged helicarrier in the background. We see Ant-Man or Giant Man. His corpse has been turned into the headquarters of Cassandra Nova and her henchmen. And we also see what's her name? Katana? No, no, not Katana. Um, there's a character. There's a mutant character from X-Men 3: Last Stand. She can like move really fast between 2 points or something. She's there. She's quite prominent. We have Juggernaut there, although it's not the version from the movies we've seen. Days of Future Past. No, that'd be X-Men 3, I think. One of those movies. X-Men 3, yeah, X-Men 3. It's not that version. I forget if there has been another live action version or not. Um, Maybe Deadpool 2, I think. My memory is hazy about that movie. I really should have rewatched it before I did this review, but anyways, um, and there's just like it's a barrage of cameos, right? And we have the big face off, and the movie does so well at setting up Cassandra as a villain. She's unhinged as most comic book villains usually are, and also she's just so freaking powerful. Like there has to be a reason for her to be in charge, and but also set the stakes up in a way that gives you reason to believe that maybe these characters can defeat her, because that's always a thing, right? um, Hugely powerful telepaths who have a wide range of abilities beyond just mere telepathy. You need to have some kind of weakness, and that's what the second half of the movie is about. As the characters, they are trying to discover what a weakness could be, how to manipulate it, and then how to get back to their own world. So we see so much more. It's an expanding of the world, basically, because this is a movie that this is not gonna happen for like another 10 years. Just like you couldn't have Avengers Endgame and the one before that, Infinity War. You couldn't have a crossover movie or crossover movies like that until that point. You couldn't have a huge superhero crossover movie until Avengers. You couldn't have one until Justice League. You couldn't have one until uh, Infinity War and Endgame. You couldn't have one like this, an R-rated superhero crossover movie like this. It just wasn't possible for the last few years, but here it is. And director Sean Levy and all the writers, Zeb Wells, Ryan Reynolds himself, and a couple others I'm forgetting the names of right now. You know, they throw everything on the dartboard, and everything freaking sticks. And that just sets up, like, as we move into the second half, we see so much good stuff that it's frankly it's beyond description, because it's not just about cameos from all the other superhero movies within the Marvel universe, the larger Marvel universe, but it's also just like we get so much with Deadpool himself. We get Dogpool, we get Nice Pool, and then we have Lady Pool, Head Pool, Kid Pool, Cowboy Deadpool, and just so much stuff. Like, there's a samurai version, there's a Nike Order version, and there's like, in total in the movie, by the time we're done, we see like dozens of different variants, and it's like it all flows together. Like, you wouldn't believe how well it flows together. But even just like talking about the cameos at this point, it's like there's something related to Asgard. There's something related to, as I already mentioned, helicarriers, and Paul Rudd's Giant Man is there. There's also Azazel from the X-Men reboot movies with First Class and Days of Future Past. He's also there. And such a joy. Like, I can't, like I said, it's hard to describe really how this makes you feel, because every single cameo, whether it's something that the characters say or a character that we see on the screen, just drop in, everything matters. Everything matters to the story in one way or another. And this is just like, they got the budget for all of this, and they just went to town. They were like, we're just gonna go as far as we can, as it's possible, as much as the studios allow us to do, and we're just not gonna think whether we can or we can't. We're just gonna do it, and they did it. And again, there's gonna be a huge spoiler at this point. Again, a very very big spoiler now. And but just be aware. You have been warned. Huge spoiler incoming for other major characters that these two are gonna see in the void now. From the trailer that came out like 5 days ago, we know that Daphne Keane returns in the movie as X-23, Laura. And man, like, when I saw the trailer, I was almost like on the verge of tears, because we are just coming off Daphne Keane as a Jackie in Star Wars: The Acolyte. She did a fantastic job, and it's the second time I'm seeing her in such a big property, or even just like the first time we see her is in Logan, and she might have done some other stuff in the intervening years, but The Acolyte is like my second time seeing her on screen, and now she's returning, and it tugs at your heartstrings, right? Because as we've already established early on in the story, this Deadpool variant that we're following along with, he's from Earth 10,005. On his world, Logan died saving X-23. as we saw in the movie. That's part of the events of this Wade Wilson's character journey and his multiverse, his part of the multiverse. And we see Daphne King return. That wasn't really a surprise. And it turns out that the reason they put her in the trailer, because it's a huge spoiler, right? It's like one of the such a big thing that you can generate hype with once the movie comes out. But they did it in the trailer just before the premiere because Daphne Keane really wanted to attend the premiere. Kevin Feige has come out with an official statement on this, and he was like, "So, okay, she really wanted to come. We couldn't say no. We put her in the trailer so people knew, and it wouldn't be a shock. I mean, it would be a good shock, But she wanted to come to the premiere, so they just did it. And man, like I said, it doesn't end there. We have Jennifer Garner. We have Jennifer Garner returning as Elektra. We have Wesley Snipes returning as Blade, and the never before seen but much talked about Channing Tatum as Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit. Now, I'm telling you, I lost my freaking mind when I saw Elektra on screen. I lost my freaking mind again when I saw Blade on screen, and then Gambit comes in, and I'm kind of like, because I'm not really a fan of Channing Tatum, and his Gambit project didn't really appeal to me, and it also doesn't work for me in this film. I mean, it's a great cameo. I'm not saying anything against that, but I think it would have been more rewarding for a viewer if we'd had Taylor Kitsch return, because he was in X-Men Origins, Wolverine. He was the Gambit that we have seen. So I would have loved to see him, especially because I love Taylor as an actor. He's done a lot of stuff I really like, Battleship, John Carter of Mars, and so much other stuff. Wonderful actor. I would have loved to see him return, but I can see the point of this one because we've never seen Channing Tatum's Gambit movie never happened. It was worked on for years, like 7, 8 years or something. It's constantly in the chatter. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening, and it didn't happen. So that was a good nod here. But then and then you see the officially, you see Daphne Keane as X-23 return, and it's like that is such a big moment, because Wade's like, Logan, look, this is her. I was telling you about her. Your variant died to protect her. So good stuff, right? And then it's like, I can tell you, like, the theater I went to, it wasn't full. We had maybe like 20, 25 people, and it was a huge theater, so it was fairly empty. But I can tell you, people were like so freaking excited to see all these people, especially Elektra and especially Blade. And there's such a good line with Blade. It's like they're talking about how there been so many different versions of some character. I forget what the name is, but then Wesley Snipes' Blade says, but there's only been one Blade, and there'll never be another. And it's such a great like fourth wall breaking comment because he was Blade in 3 movies. He pretty much, without the Blade trilogy or without the first Blade, the rest of the MCU, I don't think it's gonna happen as it turned out, because the success of Blade led to Blade 2, led to Blade 3. It also led to the X-Men franchise and everything that happened after that. So it's like dominoes, just going up, building on top. The foundation, Blade is such a key foundation for all of that, because it popularized the Marvel heroes and the anti-heroes in a way that was never really possible before. But yeah, I think it was Punisher. I think they're talking about Punisher because there have been so many variants. There's been Ray Stevenson. There's been the guy who played him in the Netflix series. Another actor. There have been 2 actors who played Punisher in movies. I believe Dolph Lundgren did one, and another actor, I forget his name is, but he's like such a great actor. He was also in The Expanse, and he's been in a bunch of TV shows and movies. He's fantastic. I've seen his Punisher. It's a really good movie. I like it. But anyways, so coming back to Blade, you know, it's really cool to have that line from him, because it talks about it. It's a commentary on the problems that the Blade reboot is having right now. Mahershala Ali, fantastic actor. He was announced to be playing Blade, the new Blade, a few years back, but the whole project's been in limbo. They've changed directors, they've changed stories or whatever, and we don't know when it's gonna happen. Like, I don't think it's that complicated a project to put together. We have a trilogy. We have the Deadpool movies. We have almost 30 years of superhero and comic book movies. How you cannot have how you cannot go ahead with a finished product on a new Blade, especially with Marshall Ali as bringing all that star power. I have no freaking idea. But you know, after seeing Wesley Snipes here, man, I wouldn't be opposed to a fourth Wesley Snipes Blade movie. I'm telling you that right now. But anyways, um, this is like uh, this is the high peak of all the cameos in the movie, and it's like so much stuff just gets thrown at you, and we get mentions of Daredevil, Punisher, Magneto, and there's so much stuff is happening, right? So many movies are being referenced right now by this point. It's like I don't know where to go. It's like this is a movie that was made by people who love superhero movies, people who love comic book movies, who have a passion for these, and this was their playground. And they really didn't have anyone, trying to like keep them from doing stuff, because it's like, in many ways, this is a Disney movie. This is a Marvel superhero movie, and there's nonstop swearing, f bombs, really graphic descriptions of sex and violence, and just like so much blood on screen, dismemberment, deaths, like guns, everything, so much of it. And then it's like I won't talk about too much about the end of the movie. You know, just seeing all of this, it gave me hope for a new future of superhero movies, as could happen, in the next 30 years. Because, the Marvel and the MCU has kind of lost its way post Endgame. There have been some really good offerings in the last few years, but post Endgame, it's like they're just going off in too many directions. There doesn't seem to be a lot of, you know, there's not a lot of like connecting tissues right now, like there were for the first four phases, or the first three phases, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, here's a Disney Plus show, here's a movie, here's these characters coming back, here's another Disney Plus show. It's been like 6 years since we've had an Avengers movie. It's been like a crap ton of years. I don't know, since we had a Captain America movie. A crap ton of years since we've had an Iron Man movie. Thor, Love and Thunder wasn't that good. I've not seen the Marvels yet. I really want to. Doctor Strange 2 didn't quite work either. WandaVision was a decent show. Captain America: The Winter Soldier was kind of eh. Secret Invasion. I saw Secret Invasion like 3 nights ago. I thought it was pretty crap. But we do have Captain America: Brave New World coming out in a few months. With Sam Wilson as Captain America. That should be good. But this is like superhero movies are flailing right now. The DCU, it has had like infinite number of issues. Every single front that matters. Story, direction, cohesive, cohesive connective tissues and everything. And then the whole reboot has happened with James Gunn at the helm. Blue Beetle was such an amazing, fresh look, but That's not going anywhere, which is really sad because that was an amazing future forward movie, and we're not getting anything. So it's like if we're going to bookend the last 30 years of superhero movies with Deadpool and Wolverine, then this is also the start of the next 30 years because you know as soon as Captain America: Brave New World comes out, we're getting back in high gear. Um, the new Superman movie with what's his name, David Cornswet, I believe his name is. Apologies if I get his name wrong. With him as Clark Kent, it's looking pretty good. Once these movies come out, I think we're back in business. But still, this movie is, I believe, this is the new DNA of superhero movies, or at least R-rated superhero movies, because we've seen now over the last 10 years that this can work, and it can work beautifully. Like, who could have imagined 10 years ago that we'd ever get a Deadpool movie? And then there was a leak of the screen test that Ryan Reynolds did, and the test footage that was shot, and then that got picked up with all this hype, and here we are 10 years later, and what freaking way to go, man! What an amazing 10 years it's been for Deadpool. This, I believe, from the bottom of my heart, that this is going to be a resurgence of comic book movies. People have been complaining for ever since Endgame that things aren't good for one reason or another, whether it's for good reasons or for absolutely stupid chud reasons. But I think this is going to change things. I really hope it does. And it's like, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who was involved. You know, top to bottom, every single person, from the studio executives who believed in Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman for this, the writers of this movie, director Sean Levy, all the actors, all the cameos that we see, everybody who was involved, the animators, the special effects people, the stunt people, everybody who was involved, every single person. A huge thank you from a fan of these characters and this universe and everything, because this was a fantastic 2.5 hours of my life. My expectations were set quite high. Once the movie was announced, when the initial set pics came out, when the trailer came out, when the final trailer came out, all the hype for the last few days for this movie. The friends who saw this movie yesterday, they've been talking so much about it, and now I saw it for myself. My expectations were exceeded by this movie. I'll say that right now. And like I said at the beginning, this has to be a top 3 superhero movie of all time. Or not all time, sorry. The last 30 years. Because, we still have the Christopher Reeve Superman 1 and the Michael Keaton Batman. Those movies, they're unbeatable beyond anything. And Christian Bale's Batman Begins, Black Panther, Iron Man, Thor 3 Ragnarok. There's so much stuff. Winter Soldier. There's so much stuff that you can absolutely, you can't use the words Mount Rushmore because that's only 4 movies. Like the title of the best comic book superhero movies of all time. There's such fierce competition at the top, but I think that Deadpool and Wolverine absolutely make a case for being there. And once again, this was a side of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine we've never seen before. So completely different, and it's like when you see the return of Data on Star Trek Picard. When we last saw him in Star Trek Nemesis, on the movie, he had such a great death, and he passed, and it was such a great moment. And Brent Spiner has said over the years, that if he were to ever return, he would want it to be, he would want his return to happen in a way that didn't contradict Data's sacrifice in Nemesis. And Star Trek Picard, while I felt that in season 1 it was kind of iffy, in season 3 it was absolutely beautiful. And the joy and the just the the like just the feelings I had watching Data and Picard. The feelings I had, they're like tenfold watching Hugh Jackman return as Wolverine. Even though it's not been that many years since Logan, but still, this hits differently because it's such a different version of the character with such a different backstory than we've seen in all the movies before. Because he's part of a different reality within the multiverse, right? And on his multiverse, you know, I'm not gonna spoil the story, but man, when we learn what happens, the scenes as they play out, I had tears coming down from both eyes. It was such a good emotional moment to bring the intense, bring the overall intensity down, slow down, and just like just take a moment, and we get this such a you know deeply heartfelt sequence play out, and you can really feel it as a viewer, and it's like it's somber and it's respectful, and it really makes you connect with the character, and like I said, it's such a different version of the character, and I am absolutely like feeling blessed that within like 2 months, 3 months of each other, we had we've had Wolverine on X Men '97, and we've had Deadpool and Wolverine. Like continuing legacies established like so many years ago, and then taking them forward in a bold new direction. And it's like if Hugh Jackman retires as Wolverine after this movie, I have no idea if he's made a statement about it or not. Um, I've probably forgotten if there has been a statement about it. But if Hugh Jackman retires today as Wolverine after 24 years, I'm happy. We had Logan, we've had him here, and it's like such a great moment. Like he leaves such a great legacy, and like seriously, kudos to Ryan Reynolds for like being the big shepherd of everything. You know, one of the monikers he takes in this movie is Marvel Jesus, and it's hilarious how all that comes about. But if you can like after Kevin Feige, if there's anyone who can claim that title, that moniker, it has to be Ryan Reynolds because he's changed the genre so much, and he's taken it in such an amazing direction, and he's done such wonderful things, and all the people he's collaborated with on these three movies, you know, absolutely amazing. Like who could have thought that not even like 10 years ago, like going even beyond that to X Men Origins Wolverine, you know, who could have imagined that when we first saw Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, you know you couldn't have imagined that person playing this Wade Wilson today. Like it's just straight out of this world, and by God, man, it's like the movie blew my mind, and I would love to go watch it again, but sadly that won't be possible for me. So I'll have to wait, till it comes out in other forms once it leaves theaters and everything. But man, this is such a freaking joyride. Amazing cinematography, especially when we're in the void, and we get some huge landscape shots and all the action choreography. It was superb. So many different kind of superhero combat, and Ryan Reynolds just being Ryan Reynolds, and just like oh, you cannot talk. I cannot talk enough about this movie. Just give me a second though. I think yes, I had I found this one an article on Variety.com which lists all the cameos, and it's like so amazing. Of course, there's a Stanley cameo. Sadly, Stanley passed away a few years ago, so he couldn't be there in live action. But we do get a version of that. We have Rob Liefeld. Apologies if I pronounce the name wrong. He's one of the most well-known Deadpool creators. with Deadpool writers and artists. That he shows up in one form. There's a really cool Spider-Man cameo as well. The helicarrier, like I said, so much stuff is pulled from the MCU as well. Like I've already said, Ant-Man shows up, Asgard shows up in one form, Sentinels show up. There's so many more Fantastic Four reference beyond just Chris Evans's Johnny Storm. We get so much Iron Man stuff, and Captain America stuff, and of course, one of the most well hyped or sorry, not well hyped, most hyped expected cameos is from a certain actor, and it gets confirmed in the credits. So you never really see it on screen itself, but I was like, yes, they did that. That was really cool. And then just the usage of all the music, especially like NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, and so much more. The usage of all the music is so good in this movie. Like they're literally at the beginning of the movie, we get pretty much the full Bye 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 song, as Wade Wilson, Ryan Reynolds, as he's hacking up all these TVA agents. It's just like, who would have, like, all these writers and Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, they came up with all of this, and it still just blows my mind. Of all this wacky stuff that they've done, and they pull it off so well. So it's like, it's just like so good. I've never felt this good about a superhero movie in like a really long time. Probably like Ragnarok, but it's so much better than Ragnarok. And it's like, this was good, man. This was such a good tonic for the soul, and I'm just ready for more. Like, I hope to see more Deadpool movies with Ryan Reynolds, and just more of all these characters and all these cameos. It's like, it was good for the soul, man. Like, if nothing else, this movie, it's gonna leave you feeling so damn good by the end. And even the ending, the climax, the ending, superb stuff. Loved every moment of it. Wouldn't have it any other way. So, anyways, that's my review. That's my thoughts about this movie. Please let me know what you think. I hope you had as good a time as I had watching the movie. I hope that people, all of you who liked it, that you get to see it more before it leaves theaters. And I hope all the success in the world for the movie. There are projections that it's going to be like $120 million opening weekend. I hope it has like a $250 million opening weekend. Like, that's probably like, asking a lot, but it's like, I'm wishing all the success in the world to this movie, because all of these people involved, everybody, even all all the cameo people, you all deserve this. I've not covered all the cameos, especially the character cameos that happen in the movie. But man, this movie is wild. It's wacky. It's wild. It's out of this world. And I've been talking about it for like the last like almost 15 minutes now, and I still can't believe this movie got made. It's like, kudos to everybody involved. You guys did a hell of a job, and I hope to see more from all of you in the future. So anyways, that's me today, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Please like it, subscribe to the channel, and watch out for more. I'll have a lot more stuff coming out in the next few days. So many different topics: Warhammer, more TV shows, Star Wars stuff, House of the Dragon. The next episode is going to come out day after tomorrow. We'll be talking about that, and then just, so many other things. So much stuff is happening. There's even a new trailer that came out for the upcoming Transformers animated movie. So stick around. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers. Bye.